Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala abdillahi wa rasulihi Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. So the intention inshaAllah ta'ala is that we finish the summarized tafsir which we've been doing, the commentary. I don't really call it a tafsir, but I would call it a commentary on the English translation. We are inshaAllah ta'ala going to finish that today, however long it takes, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But I'm hoping that we can finish inside of the normal allotted time. Bismillah ta'ala. We are up to Surah At-Takwir.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ighfir lana wa li shaykhina wa lil mustami'in wa li jami'il muslimin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Qala Allahu ta'ala. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا الشمس كورت.
When the sun is wrapped up in darkness. So there are different views about what the meaning of kuwirat is, but the general meaning of it is that the sun comes together with the moon, and both of them rise from the west, both of them come together, and both of them are extinguished. The light from them is extinguished. And there are some any narrations that mention it being put into the fire, falling into the hellfire. Ala kulli hal, the sun is wound up and it turns into darkness. And that is when the horn is blown the first time for the start of Al-Qiyamah.
وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ كَدَرَتْ.
And when the stars fall dispersing. From the description and Surah At-Takwir along with Surah Al-Infitar and Surah Al-Inshiqaq, there is a narration from some of the Sahaba that whoever wants to see the Day of Judgment as though they saw it with their own eyes, let them read these surahs. Because if you read Surah Al-Takwir, you are literally, Allah is describing to you the Qiyamah as though you see it with your own eyes. And when the stars fall and they disperse.
وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ.
And when the mountains are removed, they're made to pass away.
وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ.
And when the full-term she-camels are neglected. See, a pregnant camel would be people who have camels. A pregnant camel is a source of a lot of wealth and a lot of care. So the person would give a lot of care to the pregnant she-camel. They will be looking at it and taking care of it because at that time it needs care and it's a source of wealth for them, for the owners of the camels. So for them to leave their pregnant she-camels, this is an example of something which is very serious. Only the most serious thing would have caused them to leave that. Rather, if we look at the example, even more than that, the example given in Surah Al-Hajj, إِنَّ زَلْزَلَةَ السَّاعَةِ شَيْءٌ عَظِيمٌ. What's the example given? About وَتَضَعُ كُلُّ ذَاتِ حَمْلٍ حَمْلَهَا. And even the pregnant woman, she will miscarry her baby. Even the woman who is breastfeeding her baby, she will drop the baby that she's feeding. And you never imagine, at the time a woman is feeding her child, she never ever leave that child. She will leave that child, just drop that child out of the fear of what is happening at that time.
وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ.
And when the wild beasts are gathered, this is evidence that the animals will be gathered Yawm al-Qiyamah. However, the animals will not be entered into Jannah or Jahannam. They will turn into dust. But they will be gathered even to the point that the animals, the madhalim between the animals, Allah will make it right. The oppression between the animals when one animal oppressed the other. But the animals will not be given an account. They will not be from the people of, from the animals of Jannah or Jahannam.
وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ.
And when the seas are filled with flame, they become on fire. Or sujjirat means they overflow into each other. Either it means they burst forth overflowing or they become fire.
وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ.
And when the souls are paired. Either it means that like souls that are like, they go together. The good with the good and the bad with the bad, and so on. Or it means that the soul and the body is paired back together. Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned that the soul and the body, have varying stages between them, between the soul and the body. And the most complete connection between the soul and the body is Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the time when the soul and the body have a total connection, because they don't sleep, they don't separate from each other. At that time, whether believer or kafir, the complete connection between the soul and the body, the most complete that it ever will be, is Yawm al-Qiyamah.
وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ.
And when the girl who was buried alive is asked, because the Arab in the time of Jahiliyyah, they used to bury their daughters alive. So Yawm al-Qiyamah, that daughter that was buried, she will be asked,
بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ.
for what sin was she killed?
وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ.
And when the pages are spread, any of the recorded deeds of all of the people are made public.
وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ.
And when the sky is stripped away.
وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِّرَتْ.
And when hellfire is set ablaze. Jahannam exists already. However, the blazing of Jahannam Yawm al-Qiyamah will be more than the blazing of Jahannam, what it is now. It will be, and why is that? Because it will be fueled. What is the fuel of Jahannam? وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. The fuel is people and stones. For Jahannam will be fueled on that day.
وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ.
And when Jannah is brought near.
عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ.
A soul will then know what it has brought with it. All the deeds have come with you, because you don't take anything from this life. You don't take money, you don't take status, but you take your deeds, whatever they are. So the deeds are you will know what you brought with you in terms of your deeds.
فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ.
So I swear by the retreating stars.
الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ.
Those that run their courses and disappear. And this is regarding the stars that appear and disappear in the sky. Because the stars have, in their movements in the sky, they are visible at some times and they disappear at other times.
وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسْعَسَ.
And by the night as it closes in.
وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسَ.
It's also said by the night as it closes in means the night when it departs. As'as, either when it comes or when it goes. And by the dawn when it breaks.
إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ.
That indeed it is a word conveyed by a noble messenger. Meaning that the Qur'an has been conveyed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam.
ذِي قُوَّةٍ عِنْدَ ذِي الْعَرْشِ مَكِينٍ.
Who is possessed of power with the owner of the throne, secure in position. And he's full of power and he has honor in the sight of Allah. Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam.
مُطَاعٍ ثَمَّ أَمِينٍ.
Obeyed there, obeyed in the heavens and trustworthy.
وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونٍ.
Obeyed in the heavens, the meaning is that Jibreel is the leader of the angels. So the angels obey the command of Jibreel in the heavens. The next ayah you read, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونٍ. And your companion, meaning the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, is not at all mad.
وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ بِالْأُفُقِ الْمُبِينِ.
And he has certainly seen him, meaning Jibreel, in the clear horizon. And the Prophet ﷺ certainly saw Jibreel in his true form. And he saw him twice in his true form. He saw him just after the prophethood, the beginning of the prophethood. After the revelation stopped for a while, after Iqra and the revelation stopped for a while, he saw Jibreel in his true form. And he filled the horizon and he had 600 wings. And then he saw Jibreel again, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى عِنْدَ سِدْرَةِ الْمُنْتَهَى. On the time when Jibreel took him to Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj.
وما هو على الغيب بضنين.
And he is not a withholder of knowledge of the unseen. Yani Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not withhold anything that he was told to convey to the people.
وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم.
And it is not the word of a devil expelled from the heavens. Yani the Qur'an, وما تنزلت به الشياطين وما ينبغي لهم وما يستطيعون. The shaitan never came down with this Qur'an, and it's not right for this Qur'an to be something that the shaitan brought, and they would not have been able to bring it if they wanted to bring it.
فأين تذهبون.
So where are you going? Yani with your denial of the Qur'an and the Prophet ﷺ, yani ask yourself, where are you heading?
إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين.
It is not except a reminder to the worlds.
لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم.
For whoever wills among you to take a right course. Here is the dalil for the mashi'atul abd. In al-ayah, the ayah is a dalil for mashi'atul abd. Anna lil abdi mashi'ah. That the servant has an ability to choose. And he's not forced to do haram. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَن يَسْتَقِيمُ. If you want, you yourself, you want to actually be an upright Muslim. You choose to be an upright Muslim. But that choice is limited by the next ayah.
وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين.
And you do not will, except that Allah wills, Lord of the worlds. For the mashi'ah of the abd, the servant's will, is completely under the will of Allah. For you cannot will something that Allah does not will. And we quoted the poetry of Imam Ash-Shafi'i last time. ما شئت كان وإن لم أشأ وما شئت إن لم تشأ لم يكن. Until the end of the poetry. Whatever you will happen, even if I don't will it. And whatever I will, if you don't will it, will not happen. What does that tell us? It tells us our need of Allah. Because a person from us could say, I will, شئت أن أكون من أهل الجنة. I have willed to be from the people of Jannah. هل تكفي? It's not enough. إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. You need Allah Azza wa Jal to help you by willing for this choice that you have made to take place. For you have a choice. Allah Azza wa Jal created within you the ability to choose. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wants to believe, let him believe, and whoever wants to disbelieve, let him disbelieve. And you have a choice. But that choice, you cannot carry it out unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills it for you. So for example, let's say yesterday, I remember I said, inshallah, we will reach up to Surah Al-Mutaffifin. يعني شئت أنا أن نصل إلى سورة المطففين. I willed that we reach Surah Al-Mutaffifin. وما شاء الله. Yani Allah Azza wa Jal didn't will for us to reach it. Yani Allah willed that we reach to the end of Surah Abasa. For whose will win the battle? Always the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the one that will happen. But you will be taken to account and asked about your choices. Did you choose? Because sometimes you choose something good and it doesn't happen. And sometimes you choose something bad and it doesn't happen. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you to account for your choices that you decided, things you decided. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will either complete that for you or hold you back from it for a wisdom that is with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that brings us to the end of the surah. So we can go to Surah Al-Infitar.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إذا السماء فطرت.
When the sky splits open. So Surah Al-Infitar is also Makkiyah, and it's also with Surah At-Takwir a description of the Qiyamah. When the sky splits open.
وإذا الكواكب انتثرت.
And when the stars fall scattering.
وإذا البحار فجرت.
And when the seas are erupted, yani they burst forth, we heard. Sujjirat, yani they became on fire. Fujirat, they burst forward or burst forth.
وإذا القبور بعثرت.
And when the contents of the graves are scattered, yani everything in the graves will be spat out and exposed.
علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت.
A soul will then know what it has put forth and what it has kept back. Yani what it did and what it didn't do. The sins it did in the beginning and the sins it will do in the end. The good deeds it did in the beginning, the good deeds it will do in the end. And all of those, any variations.
يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم.
O mankind, what has deceived you concerning your Lord, the most generous? How could you be deceived away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what pleases Him? Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, let me go first. He said, يقول تعالى معاتبا للإنسان المقصر في حق ربه. Allah Azza wa Jal rebukes the person who is falling short in the rights of his Lord. The one who المتجرئ على مساخطه, the one who is bold enough to do what angers Allah. يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم. يعني is it أتهاونا منك في حقوقه أو احتقارا منك لعذابه أو عدم إيمان منك بجزائه. He said, what is it that has caused you to be like this? Is it because you don't think his rights are important? Or is it because you don't think that his punishment is severe? Or is it because you don't believe in him and his reward? Now.
الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك.
Who created you, proportioned you, and balanced you, or gave you your design. Yani the one who created you, proportioned you, and balanced you. Or فعدلك can also be he perfected your design.
في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك.
In whatever form he willed, he has assembled you. And that's also important to understand that the form you have, this is why there is such a severe punishment for changing the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because you are as Allah created you. How Allah created you. That's, for example, people say, why can we not have, for example, cosmetic surgery? Why, if I don't like my nose, can I not make my nose thinner, or can I not make it different or less of less crooked or whatever? Cosmetic, not for medical reasons. Just because I don't like it. Allah is the one who created you, how He created you. It's not befitting for you to be to go to what Allah Azza wa Jal created and be unhappy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. Now, we're not saying about the things that you have the ability to change, which is in your hands, like for example, your weight or your health or your these type of things. But a person, for example, like we said, cosmetic surgery and so on, you have to remember Allah Azza wa Jal is how this person is how Allah created them. And also from this is the prohibition of making fun of people because of how they look. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gave them their forms as He willed for a wisdom that is with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala.
كلا بل تكذبون بالدين.
No, but you deny the recompense. The insan who is ما غرك بربك الكريم, the one who was deceived with regard to Allah, denies the recompense now.
وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ.
And indeed, appointed over you are keepers, angels who preserve your deeds now.
كِرَامًا كَاتِبِينَ.
Noble and recording, writing down. In other words, the angels that are recording your deeds are noble angels. The one on the right and the one on the left. They are noble angels. And they are writing down what you do.
يعلمون ما تفعلون.
They know whatever you do. There is a mas'ala. Does the angel know what is in your heart? Because the asl is that only Allah Azza wa Jal knows what's in your heart, right? Inna Allaha alimun bi dhati sudur. However, the answer is that Allah will give the angel the ability to know what is related to a good deed or a bad deed. Because there are a'malul qulub, there are actions of the heart, like loving Allah and fearing Allah and hoping in Allah. And there are actions of the heart, which are, for example, issues that are haram, like superstitions or whatever it might be. For these things that are in the heart, Allah will give the angels the ability to know them because they are good deeds or bad deeds that need to be written down. But as for complete knowledge of the heart and everything that it contains, no one knows what is in the heart and everything that it contains except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah gives the angels the ability to write down that which is related to what they need to write. That which is a good deed or a bad deed. So the angels are given the ability to know it. يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ.
إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ.
Indeed, the righteous will be in pleasure.
وَإِنَّ الْفُجَّارَ لَفِي جَحِيمٍ.
And indeed, the wicked will be in hellfire.
يَصْلَوْنَهَا يَوْمَ الدِّينِ.
They will enter to burn in it on the day of recompense.
وَمَا هُمْ عَنْهَا بِغَائِبِينَ.
And never therefrom will they be absent.
وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ.
And what can make you know what the day of recompense is?
ثُمَّ مَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ.
Then what can make you know what is the day of recompense?
يَوْمَ لَا تَمْلِكُ نَفْسٌ لِنَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَالْأَمْرُ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلَّهِ.
It is the day when a soul will not possess for another soul the power to do a thing. And the command that day is entirely with Allah. Meaning nobody will be able to do anything for anyone else. Not the prophets. What did the Prophet say to Fatima? He said, "Oh Fatima, I cannot help you against Allah in anything." And this is a fundamental belief that Muslims have, that it doesn't matter who you are. Hatta the angel Jibreel, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, they cannot do anything to help you against Allah. Only if Allah gives them permission, so they can intercede for you or ask for you or whatever it might be. But with Allah's permission only. And they cannot independently do anything to help you. And if they cannot do anything to help you, then there is nobody else that can do anything to help you. لا ملك مقرب ولا نبي مرسل. No angel that is near to Allah and no prophet that was sent to mankind can do anything to help you on that day. Look at the people go to the prophets. They go to Adam, they go to Musa, they go to Ibrahim, they go to Isa. At each time, what do they say? Nafsi, nafsi, myself, myself. I can't do anything for you on that day. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ asks Allah for the judgment to start. Why? Because he's given permission by Allah to do it. Otherwise, he's not allowed to ask for the judgment to start or anything else. No one can benefit anyone on that day. The command is entirely with Allah. In reality, the command is with Allah every day. لِلَّهِ الْأَمْرُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَمِنْ بَعْدُ. To Allah belongs the command before and after. However, on that day, no one will compete with Allah in command. And no one will claim, I have control, I can do. Nobody will claim it. Everybody will confess that the command on that day belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that is the end of Surah Al-Infitar, and we go to Surah Al-Mutaffifin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل للمطففين.
Woe to those who give less than due, meaning the people who cheat others by giving them less than what they paid for when weighing or measuring. And that's because the second ayah explains the first one.
الذين إذا اكتالوا على الناس يستوفون.
So the meaning of al-mutaffifin is those who, when they take a measure from the people, take in full. So when they go to the market and they take a measure, they take the full amount. They don't accept anything less than the full amount in weight or measure. You understand the difference between weight and measure. Maybe some of the people watching maybe are not experienced because it's not something we have in this day and age. We pretty much do everything by weight. But in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there is the issue of al-kayl wal-wazn, the issue of volume and weight. And we have it today. And still today we sell milk by the liter, right? We don't sell milk by the weight. We don't say, I'm going to buy a kilo of milk. We say, I'm going to buy a liter of milk. But in those days, even some things that today we would weigh them, people would measure them by volume, like dates. Dates were always measured by volume, not by weight. So you wouldn't buy a kilo of dates, you would buy a sa' of dates. And to understand the measures, just as a benefit, the most common two measures that they had in the Prophet ﷺ in the time of the Prophet ﷺ for volume is al-mud wa sa'. A mud is basically a grown man's 2 hands full, and approximately in volume, it is 750 milliliters. Approximately in volume, 750 ml, approximately. So a sa' is 4 mud. A sa' is 4 mud. That makes a sa' how much? 3 liters. 750 makes 3,000, yani 3 liters. And some of the ulama said a mud is 500 mil and that the sa' is 2 liters. Like from limited, yani it seems like it's 3 liters. So that means when you got a sa', you expect that full 3 liters is full. And you would expect that you if it's rice or it's dates or whatever, it's full to the top. Likewise with the weight. The weight in now we use grams and kilos. They had different weights in those times. But you would expect that the weight is fair. As for the mutaffifin, when they go to the market, they expect to get full weight and full measure. Naam, and the third ayah.
وإذا كالوهم أو وزنوهم يخسرون.
But if they give by measure or by weight to them, they cause loss. And they give them less than. And that can be in different ways. It doesn't matter whether they fake the weight. They say it's a kilo, but it's not really a kilo, it's 950 grams, the weight. Or they fix the scales. Until today, you get people who cheat the scales. They fix the scale, so the scale, and it doesn't start at 0. Or it starts past, like it's faked backwards. So that when they put the weight on, it looks like you're getting a kilo, but you're not getting a kilo, you're getting 950 grams. And likewise, like that. For these people, Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ. Wail is a valley in hellfire or its destruction. For this indicates that this action is a kabira min kaba'ir dhunub. It's a major sin. It's not a small sin to cheat people on the weight or to cheat people on their measure.
ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون.
Do they not think that they will be resurrected? In reality, everyone who sins, you ask that question. Does that person not think that Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to be asked about what it is that they did?
ليوم عظيم.
For a tremendous day.
يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين.
The day when mankind will stand before the Lord of the worlds.
كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين. No, indeed the record of the wicked is in Sijjin.
Sijjin is in the lowest part of Jahannam. And the ulama differed about it. Is Sijjin a place or is Sijjin a book? And they had a difference of opinion about it. Is Sijjin a place where the book is kept or is it the name of the book? And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.
وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا سِجِّينٌ. And what can make you know what is Sijjin? كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ. It is their destination recorded in a register inscribed.
Naam, so that's a view. Those people who said it's a place, they said Kitabun Marqum, it's the place where the book is kept. And others said it is the book itself. Like, there's something I want you to pay a lot of attention to because this is from the most scary of the ayat in the Qur'an, and it's from the ayat that give you a lot of fear. Because Allah said Kitabun Marqum. Marqum means it's already been written, the names are already found inside of it, and it's already inscribed. Kitabun Marqum, it's already sealed. Those people, their names are in it from before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. If a person feels scared that they don't know where their name is, they don't know what's written, they don't know whether it's their name is written in Sijjin or their name is written in Illiyin. Kitabun Marqum. If a person needs the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's intended to make a person scared of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written their name and they don't know where their name is being written.
وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe that day to the deniers.
Yeah.
الَّذِينَ يُكَذِّبُونَ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. Who deny the day of recompense.
Yeah.
وَمَا يُكَذِّبُ بِهِ إِلَّا كُلُّ مُعْتَدٍ أَثِيمٍ. And none deny it except every sinful transgressor.
No.
إِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا قَالَ أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. When our verses are recited to him, he says, legends of the former peoples.
And these are just tales. They say these are just stories from the people from the past. They're not, this is not something real. It's just you're telling us the stories that our grandfathers told us. That's what they said. Asatirul awwaleen.
كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون.
Do you have a sector on bal?
Yeah.
Right.
كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون. No, rather the stain has covered their hearts of that which they were earning.
So first of all, in terms of reading the Qur'an here, there's a sector. And the sector is a pause without taking a breath. So you don't say كلا بل ران. No, you don't take a breath. But you stop. كلا بل ران على قلوبهم. So you took a breath, a pause. Allah Azza wa Jal said, كلا. What did we say كلا means? It's not like that. It's not like that. Afwan, I think just give him a hand for 1 second, inshallah. كلا بل, كلا. No, just give him, just help him. He'll need your help for a second. Yeah, just he'll need for 1 minute. He'll need help to open it. كلا بل, كلا means it's not like that. What they think, it's not like that. They thought it was tales, like stories of the people before. كلا, it's not like that. بل, rather, ران على قلوبهم. الرين is a cover or a stain which comes onto the heart. The Prophet ﷺ told us about it. He said when a person commits a sin, what happens? There's a black dot is placed on their heart. If they repent, their heart is cleaned. And if they continue, more and more dots are put upon their heart until their heart becomes stained by it. كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Because of what they used to do. Now, can you feel that? You can feel it upon your heart. You can feel that your heart doesn't feel light, it doesn't feel clean. And there are different levels of it. And there is the hadith, I'll give you the wording, the exact wording, which the Prophet ﷺ said about himself, which shows that a person can, and even the most righteous of people can feel it. He said, let me just get you the exact wording. He said, إِنَّهُ لَيُغَانُ عَلَى قَلْبِي. He said, indeed, I feel my heart al-ghayn, yani it becomes like a veil over my heart. Like I feel my heart is not connected to Allah the same way that it was. And he was, إِنَّهُ لَيُغَانُ عَلَى قَلْبِي. The Prophet said it about himself. For this shows that the most righteous of people can feel that your heart is just, something is just, it's not like it was. And what's the cure? وَإِنِّي لَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهِ. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive me every day. In some of the narrations 70 times, in some of the narrations 100 times. The Prophet says, ask Allah to forgive him. So istighfar clears this ghayn. Now this لَيُغَانُ عَلَى قَلْبِي is not what is mentioned here. What is mentioned about here is worse than that. Because what is mentioned from the Prophet ﷺ is just you feel your heart is just not quite the connection that it had. So Allah is telling you, you have some issues, you need to correct it, you need to come back to Allah. But here, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ, their hearts became sealed and stained because of what they used to do. For the believer can have something from this, not as bad, but the believer realizes it and feels it on their heart and says, Wallahi, I don't feel the same as I did. I feel like something is just blocking me and I need to go back to Allah. Whereas the disbeliever just keeps on doing it and doing it and doing it until their heart becomes sealed. كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ.
كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون. No, indeed, from their Lord that day they will be partitioned.
They will be partitioned.
Partitioned.
This is the great punishment that Allah Azza wa Jal gives them, that they will not see Allah. In mahjub, there will be a hijab between them and Allah. So they will not be able to see Allah. So what's the contrast to this ayah, which in Surah Qiyamah, what's the contrast to this ayah? What's the opposite? What's going to happen for the believers? وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. Faces on that day will be bright, looking at their Lord. What's happened to these people? كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ كَلَّا إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. They won't be able to see Allah. Allah will seal a barrier between Him and them, so they will not get the pleasure and the benefit of looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
ثم إنهم لصال الجحيم. Then indeed they will enter and burn in hellfire. ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون. Then it will be said to them, this is what you used to deny. كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين. No, indeed, the record of the righteous is in Illiyun.
The record of the righteous is in Illiyun. The same discussion about Sijjin is the same discussion about Illiyin. Yani is it a place? Is it a book? But Illiyun is in the highest place of the heavens, yani the seventh heaven, in the highest place, Sama' Sabi'ah, and it is a place or a book where the names of the righteous are written.
وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا عِلِّيُّونَ. And what can make you know what is Illiyun? كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ. It is their destination recorded in a register inscribed.
So the same thing is said about what is said about Sijjin. It's either a place or it's a book. But it contains the names of the people of Jannah and it has already been written. So a person could say, why should I work then? Why should I bother to pray, to fast, if the name has already been written? Either my name is written in Illiyin or either my name is written in Sijjin. I don't know where it's written. The answer is two things. The Prophet ﷺ told us everyone will be made easy what they were created for. And if you think about that, there are two things. The first thing is you don't know what has been written. What you know is you have an opportunity to work and work hard. So if you were to sit down and say, what's the point? I'm not going to do anything. Automatically, you are just fulfilling your own fate to be from the people of Sijjin wal-'iyadhu billah. But if you work hard and you try and you make dua to Allah, so you are fulfilling what Allah has made easy for you to be the people of Illiyin. Everyone will be made easy what they were created for. So the answer is work hard. That is all you can do. You cannot change what is written. But all you can do is work hard. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you to a qadr that is pleasing to you.
يَشْهَدُهُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. Which is witnessed by those brought near to Allah.
Any of the angels.
إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. Indeed, the righteous will be in pleasure. عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ يَنظُرُونَ. And adorned couches observing.
The ayah, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. Which other surah does it come in? Infitar. Be careful about those things. You have to keep it in your mind because it's a bit tricky, right? If you don't keep it in your mind, you lose the surah. So Surah Al-Infitar, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ وَإِنَّ الْفُجَّارَ لَفِي جَحِيمٍ. In Surah Al-Mutaffifin, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ يَنظُرُونَ.
تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم. You will recognize in their faces the radiance of pleasure.
No.
يسقون من رحيق مختوم. They will be given to drink pure wine which was sealed.
It is delicious and it does not intoxicate.
ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون. The last of it is musk, so for this let the competitors compete.
The last of it is musk. They said the last sip, the old, when the last thing you taste of something, like sometimes there's just a smell left or just a little taste left on your tongue. The last sip will be the smell of musk. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. If you're going to compete with each other, you're going to compete in this world, you're going to compete over who has more money, you're going to compete over who has more children, you're going to compete over who's more famous or more happy or more. Compete over Jannah. That's what you should be racing each other for and striving for.
وَمِزَاجُهُ مِن تَسْنِيمٍ. And its mixture is of tasneem.
No.
عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. A spring from which those near to Allah drink.
So then tasneem is the highest spring in paradise and is only given to the people that are the closest of the people to Allah. Any tasneem, is a spring in paradise that the only people permitted to drink from it are al-muqarrabun. Now if you remember Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala divides the people into how many? وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا. 3 groups. وَأَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ وَأَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. So Allah divided the people into 3. The people of the right, the people of the left, and people of Jannah, people of Jahannam. And those people who are especially close to Allah, they are a separate group among the people of the right who are especially close to Allah. They are those who will drink from At-Tasneem. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us from it.
Amen. إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون. Indeed, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed.
Those who committed crimes, meaning the disbelievers, they used to laugh at those who believed. And that's the nature, right? You find as Muslims people, and he might make fun of you. They might think, what's this person doing, praying and giving up all the things he was giving up to be what? كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون. Or they laughed at you because you are not like them. They were wealthy and successful and you were poor and needy, whatever it might be. For that was the nature of them. They used to laugh at the believers.
وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ. And when they passed by them, they would exchange derisive glances.
Basically, they would wink at each other in mockery, and they would make gestures with their eyes to make fun of them, like winking at people and things like that.
وَإِذَا انقَلَبُوا إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِمْ انقَلَبُوا فَكِهِينَ. And when they returned to their people, they would return jesting.
Making fun of what they just did. Did you see what I just did to him?
وَإِذَا رَأَوْهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَضَالُّونَ. And when they saw them, they would say, indeed, those are truly lost.
Now, they would say that the believers are truly lost. The believers are misguided. They used to accuse the believers, you people are misguided. في ضلال مبين.
وَمَا أُرْسِلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ حَافِظِينَ. But they had not been sent as guardians over them.
In As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, وَمَا أُرْسِلُوا وُكَلَاءَ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مُلْزِمِينَ بِحِفْظِ أَعْمَالِهِمْ. He said they were not sent as guardians or representatives for the believers. They were not told to guard or to record the actions of the believers. So they have no need to accuse this person is misguided or not misguided when it's not your job. You need to be concerned over that. They were never given that responsibility to be concerned over it. Rather, this was ta'annut wa inad wa tala'ub. This was stubbornness and them being obstinate and them making fun and joking with them, that they behaved as though they were responsible for them. Saying, I think you are very misguided. Like, it's not your responsibility. You took that just as a joke to make fun of the believers.
فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنَ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ. So today, those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers.
Today means the day of judgment. And look at how Allah speaks about it today, as though it's going to come immediately. And today, on the day of judgment, those who believe are laughing at the disbelievers.
على الأرائك ينظرون. On adorned couches observing.
What are they observing? ما أعد الله لهم من النعيم. They're looking at what Allah Azza wa Jal has prepared for them, or they're looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're looking at the face of Allah Azza wa Jal, or they're looking at the blessings that Allah has prepared for them in Jannah.
هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون? Have the disbelievers not been rewarded this day for what they used to do?
Certainly they have. They are given exactly what it is that they used to do on that day. Surah Al-Inshiqaq وهي مكية.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا السماء انشقت, when the sky has split open.
This is the third surah about which the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever wants to look at the Qiyamah, not the Prophet ﷺ, one of the Sahaba said that whoever wants to look at the Qiyamah as though they're looking at it with their own eyes, let them read. And from it is Surah At-Takwir and Surah Al-Infitar and Surah Al-Inshiqaq, when the sky bursts open.
وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ, and has listened to its Lord and was obligated.
Obligated.
And has listened to its Lord and was obligated to do so.
In other words, the sky heard the command of Allah and immediately followed that command as it has to do. The sky doesn't have a choice to disobey Allah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the sky split open, the sky split open immediately and it doesn't wait, and it does exactly what it has to do, which is to answer the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ, and when the earth has been extended.
And when the earth has been extended, the earth being extended, stretched out flat, and there will be no signs on it of the signs that we knew from before. Like, how do you know where you are on the earth? How do you know your home? Aside from the buildings, or the street maps or whatever. Then you look at the features of the land. You know that I pass these fields, then there is a mountain, and then I go here, there's a river, I cross over the river, and I go up the hill, and then you know by the features of the land, the ma'alim, ma'alim al-ard. يَوْمَ تُبَدَّلُ الْأَرْضُ غَيْرَ الْأَرْضِ. The earth will be replaced with another ard. وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ. The earth will be stretched out and made flat. There will be no ma'alim on it anymore. There'll be no signs, there'll be no features of the earth anymore. Nobody will know where they are.
وَأَلْقَتْ مَا فِيهَا وَتَخَلَّتْ, and has cast out that within it and relinquished it.
Also, وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ, from the meaning is that the earth has been shaken. And it has been shaken. And so what will happen is, after it is shaken, everything within it will be cast out. Imagine what is buried in the earth. I'm not talking about just the treasure and the wealth, but imagine all the people, imagine people that were killed, people that were murdered in unmarked graves, dead people that were buried centuries ago. Every single thing that is inside of the earth will be brought out, every secret. Some of them said even the actions that were done on the earth, all of it will be brought out. Every single thing that was done on the earth will be brought out before the people.
وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ, and has listened to its Lord and was obligated to do so.
The earth, when Allah commanded it, spill out everything you have. All of your secrets, let it come out. The earth listened and obeyed, and it had to do so. It had no choice. So everything comes out of the earth. The people that were killed, the people that were buried, the crimes that were committed, the wealth that was stolen, all of it comes out of the earth.
يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. O mankind, indeed you are laboring toward your Lord with great exertion and will meet it.
And the meaning of great exertion here is that this life is like that, kadahan. It's a life of hard work and toil, and it's not a life of ease. For the vast majority of situations, the vast majority of times, and you get tired, you get sick, you work hard, you have to struggle, you have to strive, and you are going to meet those efforts on the Day of Judgment. Whatever you did, if you were working for this world, you'll meet what you did on the Day of Judgment. If you were working for the hereafter, you'll meet what you did on the Day of Judgment. إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ. You are striving and struggling, heading towards your Lord, and you're certainly going to meet Allah, or you're certainly going to meet what you did. Two views about the ayah. فَمُلَاقِيهِ, you'll certainly meet Allah. فَمُلَاقِيهِ, you'll certainly meet what you did.
فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. Then as for he who is given his record in his right hand. فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. He'll be judged with an easy account.
Now, what does it mean he'll be judged with an easy account? The Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ نُوقِشَ حِسَابُهُ هَلَكَ أو كما قال. Whoever's account is taken will be destroyed. Some of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the mothers of the believers, they questioned the Prophet ﷺ about this ayah. They didn't understand it. They said, O Messenger of Allah, you said everyone that has an account taken is going to be destroyed. Every single person that has an account taken. What does it mean, account taken? And you get asked about everything what you did in your life. You're gone. You're finished. There's no way you can survive. مَنْ نُوقِشَ حِسَابُهُ هَلَكَ. But didn't Allah say, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. You're going to get an easy account. So how did you say, O Messenger of Allah, that everyone that has their account taken is going to be destroyed? And Allah said, an easy account. He said, ذَاكَ الْعَرْض. أو كما قال. He said, this is only the presentation of the deeds. مَنْ نُوقِشَ حِسَابُهُ هَلَكَ. The one who gets a detailed account will be destroyed. So then there's two things. There is al-hisab and al-ard. Al-ard, what does it mean? You're presented your deeds, and you're given a book of your deeds. You're presented. You might be asked about certain things that you did. Your deeds are presented to you, and some you're asked about some of your deeds. Al-hisab, every minute of the day that you spent, you're questioned about it. If you get questioned in detail about everything, you have to go to Jahannam. Guaranteed. But if your deeds are presented to you and you're asked about some of them, this is al-ard, which is mentioned in the ayah. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. That's the meaning of the ayah.
وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. And return to his people in happiness. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ. But as for he who is given his record behind his back.
In his left hand, behind his back.
فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا. He will cry out for destruction.
What did Allah Azza wa Jalla say to them? لَا تَدْعُوا الْيَوْمَ ثُبُورًا وَاحِدًا وَادْعُوا ثُبُورًا كَثِيرًا. Don't just ask for yourself to be destroyed once. Ask for yourself to be destroyed again and again. It will make no difference to you.
وَيَصْلَى سَعِيرًا. And enter to burn in a blaze. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فِي أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. Indeed, he had once been among his people in happiness.
What does that, think about it, what does that mean? And he's going to Jahannam because he used to be happy in this world. Why was he happy? He wasn't happy like we can be happy. I mean, a person can be happy, a Muslim can be happy. But he was happy because he didn't think there was ever going to be a resurrection. So he didn't care. He lived his life, did what he wanted, and he behaved, does whatever he wants because he never ever thought there was going to be a resurrection. And he was relaxed about it. That's why he was happy with his family, he was relaxed. As for the believer, he was never relaxed about it. He was worried about it and thinking about it. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, he will be happy with his family.
إِنَّهُ ظَنَّ أَن لَّن يَحُورَ. Indeed, he had thought he would never return to Allah.
No.
بلى إن ربه كان به بصيرا. But yes, indeed, his Lord was ever of him seen. فلا أقسم بالشفق. So I swear by the twilight glow.
No.
وَاللَّيْلِ وَمَا وَسَقَ. And by the night and what it envelops.
In Ash-Shafaq, there's different types of Ash-Shafaq. There's Ash-Shafaq al-Abyad or Ash-Shafaq al-Ahmar. The redness in the sky, the whiteness in the sky. That is what is left after the sun sets. And when the sun sets in the sky, if you look behind it, there is like a red color in the sky or a white color. This is Ash-Shafaq. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالشَّفَقِ وَاللَّيْلِ وَمَا وَسَقَ. And the night and what it envelops. And what gathers in the darkness from the shayateen, the people, any things that no one knows about except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا اتَّسَقَ. And by the moon when it becomes full.
No.
لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. That you will surely embark upon state after state.
And you will pass from one state to another. In this life, in the hereafter, in the grave, in the qiyamah, in the people of Jannah, the people of Jahannam, you'll go through many phases in this life.
فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what is the matter with them that they do not believe?
No.
وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنُ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. And when the Qur'an is recited to them, they do not prostrate to Allah.
This is the 14th sajda tilawah out of 15 in the Qur'an. There's only one more left in Surah Iqra.
بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ. But those who have disbelieved deny.
No.
وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يُوعُونَ. And Allah is most knowing of what they keep within themselves.
No.
فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. So give them tidings of a painful punishment. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. Except for those who believe and do righteous deeds. For them is a reward uninterrupted.
That brings us to the end of the surah, Surah Al-Inshiqaq. So we go to Surah Al-Buruj.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. By the sky containing great stars.
Wallahi, Al-Buruj can be the great stars or it can be the constellations. Is more, that's more apparent. The sky full of constellations and the groups of the stars all together. The surah is also Makkiyah.
وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ. And by the promised day.
The day of judgment.
وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. And by the witness and what is witnessed.
So the witness can be anyone that is a witness on that day. Allah is a witness. The angels are a witness. The believers are a witness. The prophets are a witness. And that which is witness, which they witness over. This is something which is very significant and it's huge in the sight of Allah. Those that will bear witness and what they bear witness to. It's also said, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ is that shahid is Yawm al-Jum'ah and al-Mashhud is Yawm Arafah. And the shahid is the day of Jum'ah and the Mashhud is Yawm Arafah, the day of Arafah.
قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. Destroyed were the companions of the trench. النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوَقُودِ. Containing the fire full of fuel.
And the companions of the trench were, the The story is the story of a king who was a tyrant who refused to allow his people to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. And they made a ditch or a trench. And the story is, they say it's the story of the boy and the king. I read you the story, it's in the footnotes. It's a long story. The story is narrated in Sahih Muslim. The story narrated in Sahih Muslim is that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, among the people before you there was a king and he had a sorcerer. When the sorcerer became old, he said to the king, I have now become an old man, get me a boy so that I may teach him sorcery. So the king sent him a boy to teach him sorcery. Whenever the boy proceeded to the sorcerer, he sat with a monk who was on the way and listened to his talks and used to admire them. So when he went to the sorcerer, he passed by the monk and sat there with him. And on visiting the sorcerer, the latter thrashed him. So the boy complained about that to the monk. The monk said to him, whenever you are afraid of the sorcerer, say to him, my people kept me busy. And whenever you are afraid of your people, say to them, the sorcerer kept me busy. So the boy carried on like that for a period. Then there came on the road a huge creature, and the people were unable to pass by. The boy said, today I will know whether the sorcerer is better or the monk. So he took a stone and said, O Allah, if the deeds and actions of the monk are liked by you better than those of the sorcerer, then kill this creature so the people can cross the road. Then he hit it with the stone and it was killed and the people passed the road. The boy came to the monk and informed me about it. The monk said to him, O my son, today you are better than I. You have achieved what I see and you will be put to trial. And in case you are put to trial, do not tell them about me. The boy used to treat the people suffering from blindness and leprosy and other diseases. A blind courtier of the king heard about the boy. He came and brought a number of gifts for the boy and said, all of these gifts are for you on the condition that you cure me. The boy said, I do not cure anybody. It is only Allah who cures people. So if you believe in Allah and make dua to Allah, He will cure you. Then he believed in Allah and Allah cured him. Later, that man came to the king and sat at the place where he used to sit before. The king asked him, who has given you your sight back? The man replied, my Lord, Allah. The king said, have you got a Lord other than me? The man said, my Lord and your Lord is Allah. The king got hold of him and kept on tormenting him until he informed him about the boy. So the boy was brought. The king said to the boy, O boy, has your knowledge of sorcery reached to the extent that you can cure those who are born blind and the lepers and so on, and do such and such? The boy said, I do not cure anyone. It is only Allah who cures. Then the king got hold of him and kept on tormenting him till he informed him about the monk. The monk was brought and it was said to him, give up your religion. The monk refused to turn to an apostate. Then the king ordered to bring a saw, and it was put in the middle of his scalp and it was sawn until he fell, cut into 2 pieces. Then the man was brought and it was said to him, give up your religion. The man refused to do so. So the saw was put in the middle of his scalp and he was sawn in 2 until he fell. Then the boy was brought and it was said to him, give up your religion. The boy refused to turn apostate. So the king ordered some of his men to take the boy to such and such a mountain, saying, ascend with the mountain with him till you reach the top and see if he turns away from his religion. Otherwise, throw him down from the top. They took him up the mountain and the boy said, O Allah, save me from them by anything you wish. So the mountain shook and all of them fell down and the boy came walking to the king. The king asked him, what did your companions do? The boy said, Allah has saved me from them. The king then ordered some of his men to take the boy on board a boat to the middle of the sea, saying, if he turns away from his religion, well and good, otherwise cast him into the sea. So they took him and he said, O Allah, save me from them by anything you wish. So the boat capsized and all of the men were drowned. Then the boy came walking to the king. The king said, what did your companions do? The boy said, Allah save me from them. And he said to the king, you cannot kill me till you do what I command. The king said, what is that? The boy said, gather the people in an upland place and fasten me to the stem of a tree. Then take an arrow from my quiver and fix it in the bow and say, in the name of Allah, the Lord of the boy, and shoot me. If you do that, you will kill me. So the king gathered the people in a place and fastened the boy to the stem and took an arrow from his quiver and fixed it in the bow and said, in the name of Allah, Lord of the boy, and shot the arrow. Then the arrow hit the skull of the boy and the boy put his hand over the skull at the point where the arrow hit and he died. the people proclaimed, we believe in the Lord of the boy, we believe in the Lord of the boy, we believe in the Lord of the boy. The king came and it was said to him, that is the thing which you are afraid of. By Allah, the thing which you are afraid of has fallen upon you. The people have believed in Allah. So he ordered deep trenches to be dug at the entrance of the roads, and it was done. Then the fire was kindled in those ditches, and the king ordered that whoever did not turn away from that religion be thrown into the ditches, and it was done. Then there came a woman with her baby. She nearly retreated back from the ditch. But the baby spoke and said, "O mother, be patient, you are upon the truth." So she threw herself in the ditch of the fire along with her child to be from the martyrs in paradise. This is the story that most of them said is قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. They are the people who dug the ditch and kindled the fire for the king.
إِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ, when they were sitting near it.
Now,
وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ, and they to what they were doing against the believers were witnesses.
they threw them into the trench and watched them burn to death. This is before the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. And they resented them not except because they believed in Allah, the exalted in might, the praiseworthy.
Yeah. That's why the only reason they hated those people is because they believed in Allah.
الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. To whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and Allah over all things is witness. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. Indeed, those who have tortured the believing men and believing women and then have not repented will have the punishment of hell, and they will have the punishment of the burning fire.
And that's because remember, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba in Mecca, the Sahaba were being tortured. For the ayat came to settle their hearts, that you are being tortured, but there were people before you who were cut in half with a saw, and they never left their religion, and they were thrown into a burning fire, and they never left their religion.
إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير. Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds will have gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is the great attainment. إِنَّ بَطْشَ رَبِّكَ لَشَدِيدٌ. Indeed, the assault of your Lord is severe.
The vengeance or the destruction that he puts upon people is severe.
إِنَّهُ هُوَ يُبْدِئُ وَيُعِيدُ. Indeed, it is he who originates creation and repeats.
He brought creation the first time, and he will bring it back to life the second time.
وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. And he is the forgiving, the affectionate.
It's also said, إِنَّهُ هُوَ يُبْدِعُ وَيُعِيدُ refers to the one who begins punishment and then repeats that punishment in the hereafter. And he is the forgiving, al-Wadud. Al-Wadud is a name of Allah Azza wa Jal, which is that Allah is the one that is loved, and Allah loves His believing servants. It works both ways. The name Al-Wadud is that Allah is the one who is loved by His believing servants, and the one that His believing servants love Him.
ذُو الْعَرْشِ الْمَجِيدُ. Honorable owner of the throne. فَعَّالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. Effector of what He intends.
Maybe if they said doer, it would be easier to understand. And He's the one who does what He wants.
هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ الْجُنُودِ. Has there reached you the story of the soldiers? فرعون وثمود. فرعون and Thamud.
the soldiers of Fir'aun and Thamud.
بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب. But they who disbelieve are in persistent denial.
نعم.
والله من ورائهم محيط. While Allah encompasses them from behind.
From all sides. I'll read what As-Sa'di said about it. Because Muhit, he said, أي قد أحاط بهم علما وقدرة. He has surrounded them with his knowledge and power.
بل هو قرآن مجيد. But this is an honored Qur'an.
نعم.
في لوح محفوظ. Inscribed in a preserved slate.
In the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء والطارق. By the sky and the night, comma.
The Tariq in the Arabic language is something that comes at night. That's what At-Tariq is. But here the Qur'an is going to tell exactly what is meant by At-Tariq. And that's called Tafseer al-Qur'ani bil-Qur'an. The Qur'an explains what the Qur'an, what Allah means in the Qur'an.
وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقُ. And what can make you know what is the night, comma.
How will you know what is the night, comma? What is At-Tariq?
النجم الثاقب. It is the piercing star.
So the meaning of At-Tariq is a bright shining star.
إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ. There is no soul but that it has over it a protector.
Any angels who guard them and who write the good deeds and bad deeds.
فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق. So let man observe from what he was created. خلق من ماء دافق. He was created from a fluid ejected. يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. Emerging from between the backbone and the ribs.
Now this is an interesting discussion here, because some of the people of knowledge, they included this in al-i'jaz al-ilmi, miracles of the Qur'an, because they said that يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب, it refers to the fact that the testes, they are formed in the abdomen and they descend into the pelvis. The testes start in the baby, in the fetus, high up, and then they come يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. They come from between the ribs and the backbone, and they descend into their place. Like, the issue with it I have is that tafsir in the first place is not agreed upon as a tafsir. Others from them spoke about other, there are other tafsir of the ayah. It's worth to note. It's not a bad, I'm not like completely against it, but just be careful that it's not the only tafsir. If you go to my full tafsir of Juz' Amma, we discussed what the other tafsir of the ayah is. Let's see what As-Sa'di says about it. He said, يحتمل أنه من بين صلب الرجل وترائب المرأة، ويحتمل أن المراد المني الدافق وهو مني الرجل، وأن محله الذي يخرج منه ما بين صلبه وترائبه، ولعل هذا أولى، فإنه إنما وصف الله به الماء الدافق الذي يحس به ويشاهد، دفقه وهو مني الرجل. وكذلك لفظ الترائب فإنها تستعمل في الرجل، فإن ترائب الرجل بمنزلة الثديين للأنثى. And here he says, first of all, as-sulbi wa tara'ib. What is meant by as-sulbi wa tara'ib? The sulb is no issue. The sulb is your backbone, your spine. But the tara'ib, it said, the tara'ib is the woman's chest. And it said the tara'ib is the man's chest. So he said that in the first place, there's many of the ulama of tafsir, they said the sulb is sulb al-rajul and the tara'ib is tara'ib al-mar'ah. And they said that it comes from the backbone of the man and the chest of the woman. For that, then the meaning that people say that meaning that they brought of that the testes descend doesn't come into the ayah at all. Like he said, it could be sulb al-rajul wa tara'ib al-rajul. The sulb, that's the backbone of the man, and the tara'ib of the man. فعلى كل حال there's the ikhtilaf in it is long. The ikhtilaf in it is long. He said فالذي أوجد الإنسان من ماء دافق يخرج من هذا الموضع الصعب قادر على رجعته في الآخرة. And that's what's important. That's what's important. That the one who is able to bring out a human being from that is the one who's able to resurrect you. There's another view, which is يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب, is that Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, إن معناه أن الله على رجع الماء المدفوق في الصلب لقادر. That if Allah wanted to take that liquid and put it back into your spine, He would be able to do so. For the point I wanted to make to you is, people say as though it's a conclusion, that this ayah is talking about this biological fact, which is the descent of the testes from the upper part of the body into the place where they are, and that takes place while the baby is in the womb. That's not even an accepted, or that's not even the only tafsir of the ayah. Rather, many of them said, بين الصلب والترائب, the spine of the man and the chest of the woman. And others said the spine of the man and the chest of the man. And others said that it will be returned to the spine of the... For there's not just be careful about it. Sometimes people say things to you as though it's like a foregone conclusion. There's no other view about the ayah at all. The ayah has this is Tafsir al-Sa'di, is a summarized tafsir, right? There's nearly a full half a page on the views of the ulama about the ayah. For the ayah is not, even the way it's translated here, all of them translate it as though it's a guaranteed conclusion. That's what it means. Lekin it's not a guaranteed conclusion. That's what it means. That's one view of several views that exist within the ayah. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.
إِنَّهُ عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. Indeed, he to return him to life is able.
Or it's said to return that liquid back to where it came from is able.
يَوْمَ تُبَلَى السَّرَائِرُ. The day when secrets will be put on trial.
The day when the secrets will be disclosed is better, exposed. Put on trial is not غير واضح. Will be exposed or will be examined. Both.
فَمَا لَهُ مِن قُوَّةٍ وَلَا نَاصِرٍ. Then he will have no power or any helper.
Man will have no power or any helper.
وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الرَّجْعِ. By the sky which sends back.
It said ذات الرجع, it means that it rains again and again. And there's other views about it. There's some scientific views. It refers to sound waves, and the zahir is that it refers to the sky which rains again and again. The cycle of the rain. What do they call it? They call it the water cycle, right? The rain comes down and then the rain evaporates into the sky, and ذات الرجع.
وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ. And by the earth which splits.
With plant growth.
إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ فَصْلٌ. Indeed, it is a decisive statement.
Any clear, decisive, distinguishes what's right and what's wrong. There's nothing ambiguous about it.
وَمَا هُوَ بِالْهَزْلِ. And it is not amusement.
It's not to be taken lightly now.
إِنَّهُمْ يَكِيدُونَ كَيْدًا. Indeed, they are planning a plan.
Any of the disbelievers now.
وَأَكِيدُ كَيْدًا. But I am planning a plan.
No.
فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. So allow time for the disbelievers, leave them a while.
And you leave them for a short time, you will see what Allah has planned for them. And this is from the ayat that give you confidence. And we see sometimes, wallahi, what's happening in the Muslim world today. And you see what's happening across the Muslim world, and you say, like, what future is there for Islam? Like, when you read these ayat, it settles your heart. فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. These ayat came in Mecca when the believers were being tortured, when the believers were suffering. Just leave it. You will soon see what Allah will do with these disbelievers. Now, and that doesn't change the fact that we are responsible for the mistakes that we've made and for the reason that we're in this situation in the first place. We are responsible for that, our mistakes and our distance from the religion. But don't think that Allah will allow these people to escape. Allah has a plan for them, and don't worry about their plan that they have for you. Rather, Allah has a plan for them, and you will soon see what Allah will do with them. Surah Al-A'la.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sabbih isma rabbikal a'la. Exalt the name of your Lord the Most High.
Na'am, sabbih, and he says Subhanallah, and he says Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. Where do you say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la? Sujood. And he sabbih isma rabbikal a'la, and he says sujood. Sabbih isma rabbikal a'la, Allah's name is al-A'la, the Most High. And Allah is Most High in Himself, and He's Most High in His names, and He's Most High in His status. He's Most High in His control over His creation.
الذي خلقك.
عفوا ما انتهيت. سبح here, it doesn't come with the negative meaning. It comes with a positive meaning here, because sabbih has two meanings, a negative meaning and a positive one. The negative one, in getting rid of all the misconceptions about Allah. You don't have any misconceptions about Allah. And the positive one is to praise Allah for His perfection. So here the meaning came positive. Yani praise Allah for His perfection. He is the Most High.
الذي خلق فسوى. Who created and proportioned.
In everything.
والذي قدر فهدى. And who destined and then guided.
And He destined or measured exactly how everything will be, and guided in a general way. Here the guidance is general guidance, not the guidance necessarily of the believers, but the guidance of guiding everything to be able to live. Yani, for example, guiding the animal to be able to eat the food that is healthy, not poisonous. Yani guiding the baby to be able to drink from the milk of its mother. Yani the general guidance that all creation gets.
وَالَّذِي أَخْرَجَ الْمَرْعَى. And who brings out the pasture.
And He brings out the green, like the green pasture, the green grass after the land was dead.
فَجَعَلَهُ غُثَاءً أَحْوَى. And then makes it black stubble.
So you imagine, and you go from having a broken land that is all just eaten up, and then it becomes green again, and then it becomes broken again. And that's to show you that the day of judgment, the people will die and be resurrected, because you see in front of your eyes, the land dies and then it comes back to life, and then it dies and it comes back to life. So Allah shows you things that you can understand, that you will die and be brought back to life.
سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى. We'll make you recite, O Muhammad, and you will not forget.
And you will not forget the Qur'an, the ayat of the Qur'an.
إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ إِنَّهُ يَعْلَمُ الْجَهْرَ وَمَا يَخْفَى. except what Allah should will. Indeed, He knows what is declared and what is hidden.
For example, the abrogated verses when Allah Azza wa Jal removes the ayah and replaces it with another ayah. ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها. Yani Allah makes the Prophet ﷺ leave one ayah to bring another ayah in its place. And that only happened in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. It didn't happen after his death.
وَنُيَسِّرُكَ لِلْيُسْرَى, and we will ease you toward ease.
Any the path of paradise, the path of Allah's religion.
فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى, so remind if the reminder should benefit.
And if it will benefit the ones who fear Allah Azza wa Jalla and think about it.
سَيَذَّكَّرُ مَن يَخْشَى, he who fears Allah will be reminded.
No.
وَيَتَجَنَّبُهَا الْأَشْقَى, but the wretched one will avoid it.
No.
الَّذِي يَصْلَى النَّارَ الْكُبْرَى, he who will enter and burn in the greatest fire.
No.
ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَى, neither dying therein nor living.
And he doesn't die in it because he doesn't die, his life doesn't end. But he doesn't live in it, and he's tortured, suffered, so he doesn't have a life in Jahannam, but he doesn't die.
قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَن تَزَكَّى, he has certainly succeeded who purifies himself.
That's the apparent meaning of the ayah. As for the meaning of zakah, it's a view. Some people had قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَن تَزَكَّى, the one who pays the zakah. But the most common one and what is apparent from the ayah is tazakka means purifying yourself.
وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى, and mentions the name of his Lord and praise.
For he purifies himself from shirk, making a partner with Allah, and then he prays. Some of them said it means zakah. So if it means zakah, what does وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى mean? If tazakka means zakah, zakat al-mal, وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى, what does it mean? يعني تكبيرات العيد صلاة عيد الفطر. Some of them held it like that. قد أفلح من تزكى, he pays zakat al-fitr. وذكر اسم ربه, and he makes the takbir of Eid al-Fitr. فصلى, and he prays Eid prayer. Lakin it's not the apparent meaning of the ayah. The apparent meaning of the ayah is he purifies himself and he remembers Allah and he prays.
بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا, but you prefer the worldly life.
تُؤْثِرُون means you prefer it over the life of the hereafter. You actually prefer to give precedence to this world instead of giving it to the hereafter.
بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى, while the hereafter is better and more enduring. إِنَّ هَذَا لَفِي الصُّحُفِ الْأُولَى, indeed this is in the former scriptures. صُحُفِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى, the scriptures of Ibrahim and Musa.
So there's a disagreement about the scriptures of Ibrahim and Musa, especially the scripture of Musa. Is it different to the Torah, or is the scripture of Musa the Torah? There's a discussion among the scholars about it. Some of them said it's a different book. Musa was given the Torah, and he was given Suhuf. Suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa. But Ibrahim was given a scripture. Suhufi Ibrahim. But there's a discussion, and the scholars of Aqeedah discuss it in the topic of Al-Iman bil-Kutub, believing in the books. Is it a separate book or is it the same book? Wallahu a'lam. Surah Al-Ghashiyah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية, has there reached you the report of the overwhelming event?
Al-Ghashiyah is one of the names of Yawm al-Qiyamah. The thing that it covers everything, it overcomes everything, and overwhelms everything.
وجوه يومئذ خاشعة, some faces that day will be humbled.
نعم.
عاملة ناصبة, working hard and exhausted.
Now this is here. Does it mean working hard and exhausted? When? Working hard and exhausted, it said عاملة ناصبة means in this world they were working hard, but it didn't count for anything. It didn't count for anything Yawm al-Qiyamah. And there's a view that working hard and exhausted is the description of them Yawm al-Qiyamah. They're running around trying to find a way out of the problem, but there is no way out for them. As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, Surah Ghashiyah is obviously Makkiyah. And he said, they're exhausted from the punishment that is being put upon their faces and the fire that covers for them, from them. Or it's said that in the dunya, they are exhausted from all of that efforts that they made. But it didn't benefit them anything. He said, وَهَذَا الْإِحْتِمَالِ وإن كان صحيحا من حيث المعنى فلا يدل عليه سياق الكلام بل الصواب المقطوع به هو الاحتمال الأول. He says this view that they were working hard in the dunya, even though it's correct as a meaning, it's not the meaning of the ayah, because the ayah clearly is talking about Yawm al-Qiyamah. So it's very important here. Sa'di says something. He says the ayah could mean they were exhausted in the hereafter or exhausted in the dunya, right? It could be both, it could be any. But if you look at the context of the speech, it has to be the akhirah, it can't be the dunya. So they are totally overburdened and exhausted in the akhirah, even though they were also exhausted in the dunya, but the ayah is referring to the akhirah here.
تَصْلَى نَارًا حَامِيَةً. They will enter to burn in an intensely hot fire.
No.
تُسْقَى مِنْ عَيْنٍ آنِيَةٍ. They'll be given drink from a boiling spring. لَيْسَ لَهُمْ طَعَامٌ إِلَّا مِنْ ضَرِيعٍ. For them, there will be no food except from a poisonous, thorny plant.
No.
لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع, which neither nourishes nor avails against hunger.
And there's nothing beneficial in it. It doesn't yusmin, and it doesn't make you put weight on. ولا يغني من جوع, and it doesn't make you feel less hungry. It just is a punishment for them. Their food is just a punishment for them.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة. Other faces that day will show pleasure. لسعيها راضية. With their effort they are satisfied.
And there's a mistake people make when reading this ayah. They lengthen the ya and they read it لسعيها, but it's not لسعيها here. لسعيها. And a lot of people read this wrong, and it's from the ayat that I regularly hear people reading wrong, because they lengthen the ya and they read it لسعيها, but it should be لسعيها. Read it one more time for me, Abdurrahman.
لسعيها راضية.
يعني still شوي يعني. One more time.
لسعيها راضية.
Better. لسعيها راضية. They are satisfied with the efforts they made. Where? Where did they make their efforts? Where was their sa'i? In the dunya. They made the efforts praying and fasting and reading the Qur'an, and they made their efforts in those things in this world, and so that when they see them Yawm al-Qiyamah, they'll be pleased with the efforts they made.
في جنة عالية. In an elevated garden.
I think it's better here to say paradise, wallahi. An elevated paradise would be better. And Jannah means a garden and Jannah means paradise. But sometimes in the Qur'an, it's more obvious that it's been spoken about as a garden, and sometimes being spoken about generally as a paradise. Wallahu a'lam.
لا تسمع فيها لاغية. Wherein they will hear no unsuitable speech.
No insults, no swearing, no bad language, no foolish talk, no evil words, no rude words. They will hear no bad speech, no laghiyah, no laghu.
فيها عين جارية. Within it is a flowing spring.
Now, I want to see this. Does it not ayn is not ism jins here? Let's see. What does the Sa'di say about it? Ism jins. That's what I said. It's ism jins clearly. For all three of the translations translated it wrong. within it are flowing springs with a S. It's واضح, it's اسم جنسية. Because it doesn't make sense to say عين جارية, there's one single spring in Jannah. The Jannah has many springs, يعني. It's a mistake in the translation. Maybe there's a view like that. It's speaking about a specific spring. Could be. But generally, it seems that this is one of the things I think personally in translation, that one of the most common mistakes that all of these translations have is not translating ism jins properly. Ism jins is a generic noun, meaning ism, meaning all of Allah's names. Bismillah, all of Allah's names. Ayn, all of the springs. Sometimes they don't catch it. يعني فيها عين جارية, يعني اسم جنس, يعني all of the springs of Jannah that are flowing.
فيها سرر مرفوعة. Within it are couches raised high.
نعم.
وأكواب موضوعة. And cups put in place.
نعم.
وَنَمَارِقُ مَصْفُوفَةٌ. And cushions lined up.
Any cups put in place, you will not have to go and collect a cup to drink in Jannah. The cups are already scattered around the paradise, the river banks and the places where the people, it's already there for you. They're all placed, the cups are placed in the places where you want it. And a person will not have to make an effort to fill them. Yeah.
وَزَرَابِيُّ مَبْثُوثَةٌ. And carpets spread around.
نعم.
أَفَلَا يَنظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Then do they not look at the camels, how they are created?
And when you look at the camel, subhanAllah, the camel, there are so many signs in it. And Allah speaks to the people the Qur'an is addressing. And the Qur'an in the beginning came down in the Arabian Peninsula. Everybody knows about the camels. And the Qur'an is for all the people in every place. But in the beginning, it came down to the Arabian Peninsula. So Allah speaks to them by what they know. Allah doesn't speak to them with something they don't know. Allah doesn't tell them about cars, and Allah doesn't tell them about planes, and Allah tells them about what they knew, what was known to them. أَفَلَا يَنظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ. Be careful, here's another mistake, which is ibil has a kasra on the ba. A lot of people read it ibil. And it's a mistake a lot of people make. Make sure there's a kasra on the ba. Ibili kayfa khuliqat. How the camel is created. The camel, ajib, it can go hundreds of miles across a barren desert without water. And a camel, and you don't see it these days, but people fought wars on camels. Camels very fast. They would raid villages, attack the villages upon camels. And maybe you can see in some places they attack people on camels. And very, very rare now, but you can find in some places. But subhanAllah, the camel and all that it has, the date palm and all that it has, if people thought about it, it will show you that this camel has to have a creator. This camel didn't come about like that, from nothing. And the camel, they benefit from its milk, they benefit from its meat, they benefit from its skin, they benefit from riding it, it carries burdens for them, and they reach far lands. Any lands you can never reach on a horse. Never ever you could reach a land like that on a horse. The horse will not survive even the first 50 miles or 100 miles you're going to travel. These people go hundreds and hundreds of miles by camel. And this camel has signs in it that show you that there is a creator that deserves to be worshipped. I'll read you what Sa'di said about it. Rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, ينظرون إلى خلقها البديع وكيف سخرها الله للعباد وذللها لمنافعهم الكثيرة الذي يضطرون إليها. He said, do they not look at how the amazing creation of the camel and how Allah has made it in the service of people and how Allah has submitted it to their benefit. And the camel's a strong animal, yet these camels are domesticated, they're under the control of people and the people ride them. And all of the needs the people have from it that they could only get from it.
وإلى السماء كيف رفعت, and at the sky how it was raised.
نعم.
وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت, and at the mountains how they are erected.
نعم.
وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت, and at the earth how it is spread out.
نعم. السعدي mentions here يعني a benefit. He says واعلم أن تسطيح الأرض لا ينافي أنها كرة مستديرة قد أحاطت الأفلاك فيها من جميع جوانبها كما دل على ذلك النقل والعقل والحس والمشاهدة كما هو مذكور معروف عند أكثر الناس خصوصا في هذه الأزمنة التي وقف الناس على أكثر أرجائها بما أعطاهم الله من الأسباب المقربة للبعيد. So فائدة والله, I think it's worth. As-Sa'di says, the fact that the earth is laid out flat does not stop the earth being round. And that is a view among Ahl al-Ilm, that they said that the ayat which the Qur'an speaks about the flat earth does not mean that the shape of the earth overall from space is flat. صح? The ayah doesn't contradict the fact that the earth is round. It just says that for you, Allah spread the earth for you. And for example, it's not all mountains and you don't fall off the side and you don't have like a curve that you see with your eyes. But it doesn't change the fact. He said, particularly in this time, he said, what is transmitted to us and our intellect and what we see and what we sense is that the earth is round. And he said, this is ma'ruf, it's well known to most people, especially in this time where people have discovered all the different countries, or he says many of the different countries of the earth, because it's true, we cannot say everything, but people have discovered many of the different parts of the earth because Allah gave them the ability to travel far in a short space of time, like aeroplanes and things like that. For there is nothing in the Qur'an على هذا القول, on that view, that says that the earth is itself a flat shape. Rather, it says the earth is flat for you, which is واضح. If you go outside, you have a flat earth, you can see all of the long distance, the fields and the land is all flat for you. For that doesn't contradict the fact that the earth is round. That is a view. Sahih, some of the ulama took the view that the Qur'an speaks about a flat earth in shape. But it's not the tafsir of the ayah doesn't necessarily indicate that. It just indicates that the earth is being spread out for you. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.
فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ. So remind, O Muhammad, you are only a reminder.
The job of the Prophet Muhammad is to remind the people, nothing more than that.
لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُصَيْطِرْ. You are not over them a controller.
And you're not there to compel them, to force them to believe. The Prophet Muhammad is not there to force people to believe. He's not there to come and say, I'm going to force you, you have to believe. No, it's your choice. If you want to believe, I'm here to show you Islam, explain to you, remind you, it's your choice.
إِلَّا مَنْ تَوَلَّى وَكَفَرْ. However, he who turns away and disbelieves.
Now, however is the correct translation here. Illa doesn't mean except. Here it means however. The one who turns away and disbelieves,
فَيُعَذِّبُهُ اللَّهُ الْعَذَابَ الْأَكْبَرِ. Then Allah will punish him with the greatest punishment.
So here, what is the free choice and what isn't the free choice? You have a choice whether you believe or you don't believe. It's your choice. You want to believe or not. But the consequences of your choice, you don't have a choice over it. And if you chose not to believe, فَيُعَذِّبُهُ اللَّهُ الْعَذَابَ الْأَكْبَرِ. Allah will punish him with the great punishment.
إِنَّ إِلَيْنَا إِيَابَهُمْ. Indeed, to us is their return. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا حِسَابَهُمْ. then indeed upon us is their account.
Yani that Allah will take responsibility to take everyone to account. Looking at the time, it's that time again usually where we take a little bit of a break, inshallah ta'ala. We reached Surah Al-Fajr. Looking at our progress so far, it looks like we probably will have to take a bit of time after Asr, I think. I'm not that convinced that we're going to get to the end without taking a little bit of time after Asr. But we can do that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. It doesn't have to be a long time. It could just be like 45 minutes or an hour after Asr, inshallah. I think there is a class, a Q&A class, but I'm sure we can move the times around and figure something out, inshallah. So yes, the plan is, let's take a break now. Let's take like 20 minutes, inshallah ta'ala. And then after that, we'll come back. We'll do as much as we can. Probably Asr is going to come without us finishing. We might have about a quarter left of the juz by Asr time. And after Asr, we'll finish the rest. So we don't go, I do want to finish today, but we don't have to any panic over it, inshallah ta'ala. That's what Allah Azza wa Jal made easy for me to mention. Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala abdillahi wa rasulih nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. So inshallah ta'ala we go on to Surah Al-Fajr, Surah Makkiyah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Fajr, by the dawn. وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, and by 10 nights.
The 10 nights, all of these translated the word as 10 nights. However, many of the ulama, they said that the 10 nights are the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. The 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Now, why would the 10 days be called 10 nights? Because the word night and day is interchangeable when used in that context in Arabic. You can change them over. What's the evidence for that? Think about Surah Al Imran and Surah Maryam. قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس ثلاث ليال في سورة مريم, and what in Surah Al Imran? ثلاثة أيام. فاليوم والليلة, they're interchangeable with each other, because in one place in the Qur'an he says 3 days and in one 3 nights, so it shows that the day and night is interchangeable. فهي وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, the most famous view is that the layal ashar are the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. It's also said because al-yawm ma'a laylatiha, every day comes with a night. فَلَيَالٍ ashar are the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, which are about to start. When do we start? Next Saturday, approximately. Next Friday, next Saturday, something close like that. That is the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah.
Yeah.
They are the best 10 days of the whole year, including better than Ramadan. Except Laylatul Qadr. They are the best 10 days of the whole year. And they're starting, let's get the, according to the calendar, it starts on Saturday. According to the calendar, but it depends on the moon sighting, but according to the calendar, it starts on Saturday. That's the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. The Prophet ﷺ said, مَا مِنْ أَيَّامٍ الْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ فِيهِنَّ أَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ هَذِهِ الْأَيَّامِ الْعَشْرِ. There is no day in which good deeds are more beloved to Allah than these 10 days, which is starting on Saturday until Eid. Now.
وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ, and by the even number and the odd.
And here there's a difference of opinion about the even number and the odd. Some of them said the even number is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah and the odd is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Some of them said the even and the odd is the even is the creatures and the odd is Allah. Ash-Shaf' is al-Khalq and al-Witr is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allaha witrun yuhibbul witr. Allah is odd numbered and He loves what is odd numbered. But the correct view about the tafsir is that tafsir is general. Everything which is even and odd. Everything which has an even number and an odd number. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by it. By the even number and the odd. Which is all of the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. And some of them said, it's the 5 daily prayers. Ash-Shafar is all of the other prayers and Al-Witr is Maghrib. But actually all of these things are included in the ayah.
وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَسْرِ, and by the night when it passes.
Now,
هَلْ فِي ذَلِكَ قَسَمٌ لِذِي حِجْرٍ, is there not in all that an oath sufficient for one of perception?
so what we've understood is there's no jawab al-qasam here. There's no answer to the oath. And the oath is made because of the greatness of those things without there being an object that the oath was made for. For example, you say, Wallahi, Wallahi, I'm speaking the truth. Okay? Wallahi is the oath. I'm speaking the truth is the point of the purpose, the sentence that you said the oath for. There is no sentence here. There is only an oath. For there is a qasam bila jawab. There's no answer to it. And the reason for that is because of the greatness of the things that are being sworn by are so great that it doesn't need a sentence afterwards. Those things in themselves, yani al-fajr, the salat al-fajr or the time of fajr, walayalin ashar, the 10 days of the hijjah, wal-shaf'i wal-watr, everything that is odd and even, the creation and Allah, wal-layli idha yasr, and the night and what passes. And that in itself is enough. There doesn't need to be a sentence that comes after it.
أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِعَادٍ, have you not considered how your Lord dealt with Ad?
No.
إِرَمَ ذَاتِ الْعِمَادِ, with Iram.
Iram are the people of Ad. Iram are the people of Ad.
Who had lofty pillars.
Now, the lofty pillars, supporting their tents or supporting their buildings. Now,
التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد, the likes of whom had never been created in the land.
no.
وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد, and with Thamud who carved out the rocks in the valley.
أعيد الآية عبد الرحمن, انتبه للصاد.
وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد.
Better. جزاك الله خير.
وفرعون ذي الأوتاد, and with Fir'aun, owner of the stakes.
They say the stakes are what he tortured the people with. And he used to torture the people upon stakes like pegs. And he used to tie their arms and legs to them, or he used to drive them through their bodies and so on. For this is said that this was the torture of Fir'aun. Like in the Zahir is that what Fir'aun used to do is tie the people to it. And he basically stretch out their arms and legs and tie them to the stakes and torture them. Otherwise, al-awtad could also be the big structures that Fir'aun had built for him. That's also possible. The big buildings and structures that were built for him.
الذين طغوا في البلاد, all of whom oppressed within the lands.
Fir'aun and Ad and Thamud, all of them oppressed throughout the lands.
فأكثروا فيها الفساد, and increased therein the corruption.
No.
فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب, so your Lord poured upon them a scourge of punishment.
A scourge is like a lash, a whip, like a whip of punishment.
إن ربك لبالمرصاد, indeed your Lord is in observation.
Now I'll read you what As-Sa'di says, because al-mirsad, we came across it before. It means lying in wait. For As-Sa'di, he said, لمن عصاه يمهله قليلا ثم يأخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. That's the meaning of it. Observation is not here. None of them, I don't think, translated it with the proper translation here. It's possible. But labil mirsad, what it means is lying in wait. And what you say is mirsad is when you ambush someone. Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. Your Lord is waiting to ambush you. In what way? The disobedient person, Allah gives him life, happiness, freedom, until when? Suddenly his death comes like that. This is the meaning of Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. Your Lord is waiting in ambush. And they don't expect it. What is the ambush? It's the attack that happens when you don't expect it. For what happens is they don't expect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will suddenly seize them and take their life and give them a severe punishment after He gave them everything easy. So it's in a way that is befitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other tafsir, bil-mirsad, that he's observing is also correct. But there's another meaning here that they didn't allude to, which is that He seizes people with punishment when they don't expect it.
فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن. And as for man, when his Lord tries him and thus is generous to him and favors him, he says, my Lord has honored me.
And why does he say, my Lord has honored me? And when he's given something, he thinks that because he's been given something, and everything is fine, and I believe in Allah, and Allah has honored me. But he's quick to change if something is taken away from him.
وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. But when he tries him and restricts his provision, he says, my Lord has humiliated me.
So when he said, my Lord has honored me, it wasn't sincere from him. It was out of pride and out of arrogance. And like the one who says, look at what my Lord has given me, all of this money, all of these houses, everything I have. This is just because of how much status I have in the sight of my Lord. So he's not humble, he doesn't have humility. And then when he's taken away from him, he blames Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he says, my Lord has humiliated me.
كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم. No, but you do not honor the orphan.
No, meaning it's not as you imagine. Kalla, it's not like you think. Rather, Allah Azza wa Jal tests people with wealth and poverty. So Allah Azza wa Jal gives wealth to some people that He loves and some people that He doesn't. And He gives poverty to some people that He loves and some people that He doesn't. So wealth and poverty are not a sign that Allah has honored you or humiliated you. But it's just a test and a trial. But you do not honor the orphan.
ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين. And you do not encourage one another to feed the poor. وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما. And you consume inheritance, devouring it all together.
And you don't care whether it's halal or haram.
وتحبون المال حبا جما. And you love wealth with immense love.
No.
كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا. No, when the earth has been leveled, pounded and crushed.
On the day of resurrection.
وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا. And your Lord has come and the angels rank upon rank.
Allah comes in a way that is befitting to His majesty and His divinity subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah Azza wa Jal comes to judge between the people Himself in a way that is befitting to His majesty.
وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ وَأَنَّى لَهُ الذِّكْرَى. And brought within view that day is hell. That day man will remember, but how to him will be the remembrance.
I'm not sure how to him doesn't quite make sense. Maybe what good to him will be the remembrance. That's better. What is the use of remembering then?
يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي. He will say, oh, I wish I had sent ahead some good for my life.
I wish I'd put something forward for the hereafter.
فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد. So on that day, none will punish as severely as his punishment. وَلَا يُوثِقُ
That doesn't quite go right. And on that day, he will punish them severely like no one else would punish them. But the meaning, when you read the translation, it feels like other people will be punishing, but Allah's punishment will be the worst. No, no one will be punishing on that day. But the meaning is he will punish them like no one else would ever punish them.
وَلَا يُوثِقُ وَثَاقَهُ أَحَدٌ, and none will bind as severely as his binding of the evildoers.
Yani how he will bind them in chains. خُذُوهُ فَغُلُّوهُ ثُمَّ الْجَحِيمَ صَلُّوهُ ثُمَّ فِي سِلْسِلَةٍ ذَرْعُهَا 70 ذِرَاعًا فَاسْلُكُوهُ. Yani wrap him up and tie him in chains, and in a chain that is 70 cubits long, tie him up and throw him into Jahannam.
يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةُ, to the righteous it will be said, O reassured soul.
Yani, O tranquil soul. Yani, O tranquil soul. And this is the best soul, al-nafs al-mutma'inna. We said there are two types of soul, al-mutma'inna and al-ammara bis-su', the one who is inclined towards evil, commanding people to do evil, and the one who is commanding people to do good.
ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. Return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to Him. فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي, and enter among my righteous servants. وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي, and enter my paradise.
Surah Al-Balad, وهي مكية.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بهذا البلد, I swear by this city.
Meaning Makkah.
وأنت حل بهذا البلد, and you, O Muhammad, are free of restriction in this city.
Now, there's a اختلاف about the second ayah. What does it mean that you are free? يعني وأنت حل بهذا البلد. And there's a difference of opinion. As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said يعني وأنت حل بهذا البلد يعني حلول الرسول فيها, يعني while you, O Muhammad, are living in the city, يعني it's the best city because you are living in this city, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what he said. And also it said, وَأَنْتَ حِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ. It means on the day when Makkah will be free for you to fight in it. And the conquest of Makkah. And when you're going to be free to punish people on the day of the conquest of Makkah. And there are other views as well.
وَوَالِدٍ وَمَا وَلَدٍ, and by the father and that which was born of him.
Ibn Jarir rahimahullah ta'ala, he says this is every father and every offspring, every parent and every offspring. Because that is something azim in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A parent and their offspring. Like it's said that the walid is Adam. وَمَا walad is Adam's children.
لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ, we have certainly created man into hardship.
And I think rather than hardship, kabad is toil, struggle, constantly struggling. And your life is a constant struggle. And we've made your life like this deliberately. This world is sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir, the prison of the believer and the paradise of the disbeliever. But the problem is that we see this world to be our paradise and we're constantly trying to make it our paradise. We're constantly trying to make this world our paradise. Like Allah created this life to be a struggle, to be hard work.
أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّن يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٌ, does he think that never will anyone overcome him? يَقُولُ أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا, he says, I have spent wealth in abundance. أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ, does he think that no one has seen him?
And I've spent wealth in abundance, and he wasted. He's boasting about how much wealth he's wasted or how much wealth he's spent against Islam. And I've spent so much wealth. Does he think that no one has seen him?
أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ Have we not made for him 2 eyes? وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ And a tongue and 2 lips. وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ And have shown him the 2 ways.
And so we've given him the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to speak, the ability to move. And Allah has given him the ability to do all of those things. And Allah has guided him to the 2 ways. What are the 2 ways? The way of good and the way of evil. Al-Najdain, yani Sabil al-Khair, Sabil al-Shar. The way of good and the way of evil. Allah has shown you by fitrah and by wahi. By 2 things. By fitrah, your natural inclination. Naturally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you see this is good, this is bad. And then revelation completes the picture. Exactly what is good and what is bad. Allah has shown it to you. So you're not now you don't have any blame upon Allah or any criticism or argument against Allah, because Allah Azza wa Jal gave you the ability to see, hear and speak, and Allah showed you what is right and what is wrong.
فَلَقَتَحَمَ الْعَقَبَةِ But he has not broken through the difficult pass.
Al-Aqaba is like a mountain pass. A mountain pass is like a hard path that you have to travel on. He hasn't got over it yet. And he hasn't got through the difficulty of life, through the hard road that will lead to Jannah. He hasn't gone past it. He hasn't overcome it yet. Now,
وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةِ And what can make you know what is breaking through the difficult pass?
what is it that will carry you over that mountain and into Jannah?
فَكُّ رَقَبَةِ It is the freeing of a slave.
From the things that take you through the difficulties of life and successfully take you to the other side is freeing a slave.
أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة Or feeding on a day of severe hunger.
And feeding the people when people are in famine.
يتيما ذا مقربة An orphan of near relationship. أو مسكينا ذا متربة Or a needy person in misery.
ذا متربة, they say that he's al-matraba is a turab, and he's putting his hands into the dust out of misery. He's so miserable, he's putting his hands into the dust.
ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة And then, being among those who believed and advised one another to patience and advised one another to compassion.
For it doesn't benefit a person to free a slave or feed the poor or look after the orphan if that person wasn't a believer. And it didn't benefit them. The most they will get from it is the good they did will come back to them in this life. But as for the believer who frees a slave and the believer who feeds the poor and the believer who looks after the orphan and so on, that's the one, those who believe, who advise each other to have patience. Patience in doing good deeds, patience in keeping away from haram, patience with regard to the difficult things that Allah decrees for you in this life. And they advised each other to be merciful to each other. Al-marhama. And each of you be merciful to the other.
أولئك أصحاب الميمنة Those are the companions of the right.
And those who will receive their book in their right hand and go to Jannah.
والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة But they who disbelieved in our signs, those are the companions of the left.
In the companions of evil and evil destiny.
عليهم نار مؤصدة over them will be fire closed in.
In mu'sada, it means it's locked over them. They're sealed inside. There's no way for them to escape. There's no chance or no way for them to escape the fire that they're trapped inside. Go for Surah Shams.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها, by the sun and its brightness. والقمر إذا تلاها, and by the moon when it follows it. والنهار إذا جلاها, and by the day when it displays it. والليل إذا يغشاها, and by the night when it covers it. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا, and by the sky and he who constructed it. وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا, and by the earth and he who spread it. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and by the soul and he who proportioned it.
Naam, that's the most common tafsir. That ma here means man. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَنْ سَوَّاهَا, and that's the meaning of it. Yani وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, that's one view. Yani that the word ma here means man. By the soul and the one who proportioned it.
فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and inspired it with
discernment
of its wickedness and its righteousness.
Yani Allah Azza wa Jal inspired you through which way? Yani either through al-fitrah, or either through al-wahi. Al-fitrah doesn't give you the detail of everything, and your nature doesn't give you everything. You can't say someone by nature learns all of the halal and haram just by nature. But your nature takes you towards the wahi. And you say, Wallahi, what did the Prophet ﷺ come with? Worship Allah alone, be good to your parents, pray. And your heart says, yeah, that's right. That's something right. That sounds good. And then when you go to the revelation, then you learn all of the details of what you're commanded to do. So Allah inspired you to know something is good. Someone comes and tells you to be bad to your parents and to kill and to slaughter people without right and to cause corruption on the earth. Your nafs says this is wrong. In yourself, you say, this is not right, this is wrong. But you don't get the details, you don't learn all the things which are haram and all of the things which you shouldn't do, but you have a feeling this is wrong. And then Allah leads you to revelation, and the revelation gives you the details. Naam.
قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, he has succeeded who purifies it.
And this is Jawab al-Qasam. For in this surah, how many things does Allah swear by? وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا, that's one. وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا, that's two. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا, three. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا, four. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا, five. وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا, six. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, seven things Allah swears by for the purpose of what? قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies their soul. Tazkiyatun nafs. Purifying your soul. And this ayah is al-asl fi tazkiyatin nafs, fi wujubi tazkiyatin nafs. This ayah is the fundamental principle that it's wajib upon you to purify your soul. You need to work to build up your soul and take away the evil that is in it.
وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, and he has failed who instills it with corruption.
And the one who dirties it, corrupts it, that person has certainly failed. For that is Jawab al-Qasam. And all of those seven things Allah swore by, the sun and the moon and the night and the day and the earth and the soul and all of those things, all of them He swore by it to say, you'll be successful if you purify your soul, and you'll fail if you allow your soul to be corrupted.
كَذَّبَتْ ثَمُودُ بِطَغْوَاهَا. Thamud denied their prophet by reason of their transgression. إِذِ انبَعَثَ أَشْقَاهَا, when the most wretched of them was sent forth.
And that was the one who killed the camel. The one who killed the camel was the worst of the people of Thamud.
فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا. And the Messenger of Allah said to them, do not harm the she-camel of Allah or prevent her from her drink.
And when they asked for the camel, right? The people of Thamud, they asked Thamud, they asked the people of Thamud as Salih. They said to Salih, bring us a sign. And they said to Salih, bring us out a camel from the earth if you are really a prophet. So Salih made dua to Allah, the camel came out from the earth. That camel that came out from the earth, they had a test in it. Because you can't just ask for a sign. You can't just say, we won't believe in you unless you bring us a camel. Okay, here's the camel. But now you have a test. The test is, don't prevent the camel from drinking your water. And don't harm it. You have a day to drink and the camel has a day to drink. That's a trial because they put it upon themselves. They didn't accept Salih when he came with his proofs. They said, we won't accept until you bring us a camel. Salih brought the camel by Allah's permission. So now you have a problem. You are the ones who demanded the camel, so now you have a test. The test is, a day is for you to drink and a day for the camel. Don't harm it. And they sent the worst of them to kill it.
فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. But they denied him and hamstrung her. So their Lord brought down upon them destruction for their sin and made it equal upon all of them.
Naam. First of all, they denied Salih. And they فَعَقَرُوا النَّاقَةِ. They hamstrung the camel. They cut its leg. They made it that it can't. They made it fall on the floor, that it can't walk. And then they killed the camel. So Allah brought the destruction upon who? Upon the one who killed the camel or upon all of them? فَسَوَّاهَا, upon every single one of them. Because all of them either encouraged it or participated in it, so the punishment came upon all of them.
وَلَا يَخَافُ عُقْبَاهَا. And he does not fear the consequence thereof.
Allah doesn't fear any consequences for what he does. Allah doesn't fear someone is going to say to him that what you did is not right and how you're going to suffer for what you did. No one can harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is not scared of punishing people when they do wrong. Surah Al-Layl.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, by the night when it covers.
With darkness.
وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى, and by the day when it appears.
And it shows brightness, and it brings brightness to all of the things.
وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى, and by He who created the male and female. إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى, indeed your efforts are diverse.
This إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى, this is Jawab al-Qasam here. Allah swore by how many things? وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, 1. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى, 2. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى, 3. For what purpose did he swear by? For the purpose of the fourth, which is إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. What you are heading towards, what you are working towards is a very, very different thing. Some of you are working towards Jannah and striving for it, and some of you are working towards the fire and striving towards it, and Jannah and the fire are completely apart from each other. That's the meaning of إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. You people are striving. Some of you are literally working day and night for Jahannam. Some of you are working day and night for Jannah. The difference where you're going to end up is a massive difference.
فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى, as for he who gives and fears Allah.
There's also another tafsir, إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى, that each person is working for something different. Everyone has their own objectives and goals.
وَصَدَّقَ.
فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى, as for the one who gives and fears Allah. And he gives charity and has taqwa of Allah.
وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and believes in the best reward.
And he believes in Jannah. And he believes in the reward of Jannah.
فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى, we will ease him toward ease.
Now, this is the answer to the person who says, why should I work hard if Allah has already written down my qadr? فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى, we're going to make it easy for him to do that which is easy, and that which is in Jannah and getting is going to be easy for him.
وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى, but as for he who withholds and considers himself free of need.
And he's stingy, he doesn't give charity, and he thinks that he doesn't need Allah.
وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and denies the best reward.
And he denies paradise now.
فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى, we will ease him toward difficulty.
And so he's going to be given a qadr that is befitting to him, and he chose to disbelieve and be stingy. So Allah Azza wa Jal will bring him towards difficulty and make difficulty easy for him to fall into. And if you thought, Allah said, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ, we'll make it easy for him, لِلْعُسْرَى, difficulty. And we're going to make it easy for him to fall into difficulty.
وَمَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُ مَالُهُ إِذَا تَرَدَّى, and what will his wealth avail him when he falls?
And when he dies, or when he's destroyed, or when he falls into the hellfire, his wealth that he held back and he was stingy with will not benefit him.
إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا لَلْهُدَى, indeed incumbent upon us is guidance.
Allah Azza wa Jal says that guidance is our responsibility. It's the responsibility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show you what is right and what is wrong.
وَإِنَّ لَنَا لَلْآخِرَةَ وَالْأُولَى, and indeed to us belongs the hereafter and the first life. فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى, so I have warned you of a fire which is blazing. لَا يَصْلَاهَا إِلَّا الْأَشْقَى, none will enter to burn therein except the most wretched one. الَّذِي كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى, who had denied and turned away. وَسَيُجَنَّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى, but the righteous one will avoid it.
The ayah نزلت في أبي بكر رضي الله عنه. وَسَيُجَنَّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى, the ayah came down for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He is al-Atqa, يعني المذكور في الآية. And he is the one that Allah Azza wa Jal said, the righteous one will avoid it. يعني Abu Bakr as-Siddiq.
الَّذِي يُؤْتِي مَالَهُ يَتَزَكَّى, he who gives from his wealth to purify himself. وَمَا لِأَحَدٍ عِنْدَهُ مِنْ نِعْمَةٍ تُجَزَى, and not giving for anyone who has done him a favor to be rewarded.
And he not intending to get back for the good that he gave. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, when he gave, and Abu Bakr and those who are like him, and Abu Bakr when he gave, he didn't expect people were going to do something for him in return. وَمَا لِأَحَدٍ عِنْدَهُ مِنْ نِعْمَةٍ تُجْزَى. Rather, Abu Bakr was so much like that the Prophet ﷺ said, everyone who did good for me, I paid them back. Everyone who did something for me, yani this person protected me, this person helped me, this person gave me something, this person gave me from their wealth. Everyone who did something for me, I gave them back. إِلَّا أَبَا بَكْرٍ, except Abu Bakr. Meaning I could not give him back what he did for me. Allah is going to pay him back on my behalf يوم القيامة.
إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ رَبِّهِ الْأَعْلَى, but only seeking the face of his Lord Most High. وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, and he is going to be satisfied.
Surah Al-Duha.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wad-duha, by the morning brightness.
Yeah.
Wal-layli idha saja, and by the night when it covers with darkness.
Now, when it becomes still,
Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala. Your Lord has not taken leave of you, O Muhammad, nor has he detested you.
now this ayah came down, or this surah came down, because the Prophet ﷺ, when there was a break in the revelation, his people who didn't believe in him, they said to him that the reason you have not had any more revelation is because your Lord hates you and he has abandoned you. And they said it to make him feel that Allah has left him, because there was a break in the revelation. In the early surah that came down, then there was a break and nothing came down for a while. So they said to him that your Lord hates you, that's why he's abandoned you. So Allah Azza wa Jal revealed, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, and he swore by the morning and the night. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَالَ. Your Lord has not left you and he does not hate you.
وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. And the hereafter is better for you than the first life.
Now,
وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And your Lord is going to give you and you'll be satisfied.
now,
أَلَمْ يَجِدَكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Did he not find you an orphan and give you refuge?
now, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was an orphan.
وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. And he found you lost and guided you.
How was the Prophet ﷺ lost? And he didn't know. ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان. You didn't know what the Qur'an was and you didn't know what faith was. You knew that Allah was your Lord and you didn't know anything else. You were lost. You didn't know what to do. You didn't know how to worship Him. So Allah guided you to prophethood and showed you how to do those things.
وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. And he found you poor and made you self-sufficient.
I don't like that word self-sufficient. This is a ghalat. It's a mistake. You shouldn't say that. Because self-sufficient sounds like you don't need Allah. Like he enriched you. That's what it should say. He found you poor and enriched you. And he made you and he gave you what you needed.
فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. So as for the orphan, do not oppress him.
So you have, O Muhammad, been found as an orphan. So now when you come to the orphan, don't oppress the orphan. How you were an orphan before, so now when you find the orphan, don't oppress him.
وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. And as for the petitioner, do not repel him.
Now there's 2 points in this ayah. The first is as-sa'il. It covers the beggar and it covers the one coming to ask for a question for knowledge. As-sa'il includes the beggar and it includes the one coming for knowledge. فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. Does that mean we have to give everyone who begs? فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. What does it mean, لَا تَنْهَرْ? It doesn't mean don't hold back from them. Don't push them away. Don't, for example, a beggar comes and says, do you have any money for food? Don't start to curse him and shout at him and push him and hit him and drive him away. Just say to him, I don't have anything to give you. May Allah give you what you need. Be nice to him, don't push him away. Maybe a person comes to ask a question, you don't know the answer. So you say, I don't know the answer. I'm sorry. Or someone comes to ask you a question, you say, well, now it's not the right time for me to answer your question, but I will try to answer it later. So it doesn't mean you have to give them, but it means you mustn't push them away.
وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the favor of your Lord, report it.
And what does it mean? وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Does it mean that you should tell people all the good things that happen to you? Here, it's not the meaning of the ayah. نِعْمَةُ رَبِّكَ is Islam. فَحَدِّثْ بِالْإِسْلام. حَدِّث النَّاسِ بِالْإِسلام. Tell people about the ni'mah of Islam. As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said about it, all of these surah Makkiyah. He said, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And he said, النِّعَمْ الدِّينِيَّة وَالدُّنْيَوِيَّة. So he said all blessings. فَحَدِّثْ أي أثني على الله بها. For there is 3 views or more about the ayah. Like, I'll give you 2 of the most important views. The first is that this is a command to give da'wah to Islam. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the blessing of Islam, tell people about the blessing of Islam. The second view is the view as Sa'di takes, which is that an-ni'mah here is all of the blessings of Allah, and hadith means praise Allah for them. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ أي أثني على الله. Praise Allah على ما أنعم عليك من النعم, for the blessings Allah has given you. Like, and it doesn't mean that if something good happens, you should post it to everybody, or if something good happened to you, you should tell everybody. But you should praise Allah for everything good that happens to you. Surah Ash-Sharh.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Did we not expand for you, O Muhammad, your breast?
What does it mean to expand the chest or expand the breast? It means that, you know when you feel down and depressed, it feels like someone is squeezing you on your chest, like your heart is being squeezed. And when you're feeling when that depression goes from you, how do you feel? Like someone opened up your ribs, like that your chest is wide, you can breathe, you feel happy, you feel lightweight. That's the meaning of it. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Didn't we open up your chest, lighten your heart?
وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. And we removed from you your burden.
The burden is either the anxiety that was stressing and depressing the Prophet ﷺ. That's one view because it matches the first ayah. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. Wizrak is the burden that you were feeling that was making you so sad, and you felt so before prophethood, for example, what to do with your people. Allah Azza wa Jal opened up your heart. Or al-wizr is the sins that you did that Allah forgave.
الَّذِي أَنْقَدَ ظَهْرَكَ. Which had weighed upon your back.
Those sins or those burdens.
وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. And raised high for you your repute.
It's said that this is the adhan. The adhan, أشهد أن محمد رسول الله ورفعنا لك ذكرك. We made it that in every adhan, in every masjid in the entire world, 5 times a day, the name of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is called وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Or it's said that in the prayer, every time in every tashahhud, اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد.
فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. For indeed with hardship will be ease.
Relief will come after difficulty.
إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Indeed with hardship will be ease.
This is repeated to mean that it will come twice. Naam. For here, there's a lughawi principle. It's very nice. The clear Qur'an does a very good job. The clear Qur'an says, if a definite noun is repeated in Arabic, it means we're referring to the same thing. If an indefinite noun is repeated in Arabic, it means we're referring to 2 different things. So Allah said, Inna ma'a al-usri yusra. Al-usri yusra. So al-usri is the same hardship, and yusra is a different type of ease, which means the same hardship will come once and 2 different things will become easy for you. That kind of makes sense? So when the word has al, it's repeated with al, it's the same word. It's the same thing. And when the word is repeated without al, it's 2 different things. So al-usri is repeated twice, it's the same hardship. The same problem you're going through. And yusra is repeated twice. It's two different easy things. That's why some of them said, how can any hardship overcome two types of ease? And Allah promises to give you two easy things for every hardship that you go through.
فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. So when you have finished your duties, then stand up for worship.
And there's two views about the ayah that are well known. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ أي فَرَغْتَ مِنْ عَمَلِكَ. You finished your work. فَانصَبْ. Stand up and pray. And there's another view. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ مِنْ عِبَادَةٍ فَانصَبْ فِي أُخْرَى. If you finished one ibadah, straight away go and start another ibadah. And that's how our worship is, right? You finish your salah, what do? Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. And one worship goes into the other. One worship goes into the other. Now, or when you finished your duties, you finished your work, then use your time to devote yourself to Allah.
وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. And to your Lord direct your longing.
And direct your hopes, your longing. You want to meet Allah. You want to be from the people of Jannah. And long and hope for your Lord. I think that's. We started Surah Ash-Sharh. Alam nashrah laka sadrak is the last quarter. That's where the marker is for the last quarter of the Qur'an. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. That's the last quarter. I think it's just conscious that people are going to start coming in now. So maybe we just take a small break now for Asr, because people will start coming in, and then we can finish off inshallah ta'ala. We don't have a lot to finish off. We have a quarter, which is about a few pages only. It's not much of the Qur'an left to do, inshallah ta'ala. So we try to finish it after Asr. I'm just going to see when is the class, AMAU class scheduled for. Let's see. It's not showing in there. Let's see, it's on the Academy. I should be able to see it. Yeah, Q&A. Yeah, scheduled in 22 minutes. That's going to be difficult because we have the Arabic Q&A in 20 minutes. But we have to finish the tafsir, inshallah. So let me see. I'm going to try and broadcast both of them simultaneously, inshallah. I think we can do that. We can basically continue with this on YouTube and also put the same tafsir on the Arabic Q&A. And just so people understand that we want to finish this off, so we can broadcast them both at the same time, inshallah. Let's see if we can manage to do that, because the Arabic Q&A is in 22 minutes, but I really want to finish. More than I want to answer the Arabic Q&A, even though Arabic Q&A is important, but I really want to finish this tafsir. So what we will do is, we will bring the Arabic students along with us, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll broadcast to both of them, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. So to do that, we'll have to switch off the stream and switch it back on, but leave it paused now, so people are aware of it, inshallah ta'ala, and then we'll try to broadcast to both of them simultaneously, inshallah ta'ala.